What's happening, everybody? This is Shawn, your local dietitian out of Atlanta. Today we're going to learn some basic prep skills, right? Before any dish can be made, a lot of times you have to prep different things, specifically your vegetables, some of your meats, before you can get them from the chopping board into your actual pans or your pots to then come out to the dish that you guys typically see in some of the things that I make. I think a lot of these are very key skills to learn how to do. Some people don't know how to chop. Don't know how to cut correctly, don't know how to put themselves in a position where they don't cut their fingers. So that's something I wanted to pass on to you guys. And again, I may not be perfect or at a master chef level, but I can at least give you some very basic tips when cutting certain, in this case, vegetables. So today what we're gonna cut is a pepper. I'm gonna show you how to cut it, and then I'm gonna show you the different sizes and shapes you can essentially cut the pepper in. First and foremost, always make sure you have a nice sharp knife. This is what is called a honing tool. So every time before I use my knives, I make sure they're extra sharp. When you're cutting stuff and it's dull, then you have the chance for it to slip and cut yourself. Trust me, when I was in undergrad, I did my dietetics degree, we had to take a cooking class and we had to take some cooking prep courses. Just because, again, it's basic skills that you need to know when you're trying to educate people on how to cook, how to eat. And what had happened was I was using a really dull knife, it came down and it cut my thumb. Don't want that to happen to you. So how do you hone a knife, right? You're gonna start at the bottom, and then you're gonna slide down the top, and then you're gonna come on the other side, come from the bottom, slide down. So it's gonna look really fast, right? And what we're trying to do is there's probably some of these really dull edges right on the side that you're trying to basically just shear off a little bit of that middle to make it a very sharper tip on the very edge of your knife. The other key thing when you're looking for knives, right, typically have these three little circles in them. Your knives are typically also going to be, if they're really good, on the more expensive side, but if you invest in your knives, they will last you a very long time. If you go to the dollar store, if you go to Walmart and get yourself some $20, $30 knives, they'll probably be super sharp for the first couple weeks to a month, but then after that point, they might get really dull on you. Even if you use a honing tool, they probably won't last very long. So invest in knives and they'll last you a very long period of time and you won't have to get them very soon, essentially, again. If you think about it, the amount of money you're spending in the knife at the end of the day is pennies for the amount of years that you're gonna have them. So I'm gonna bring this camera up closer so you guys can see specifically what I'm doing and how I'm cutting this pepper. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is with my pepper, I'm gonna put it on its side. Again, you can see my fingers are curled under because I don't want to cut my fingers. So I'm gonna cut the top off first, slice right down. I'm gonna move that to the side. You can see inside of your pepper, you're gonna have kind of your innards, some of your seeds. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut the sides off. And depending on the size of your pepper, you usually come out with 4 different sides. All right, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And now you can see, right, I'm not having to dig into the pepper, get all the seeds out, get all the veins out. They're all now intact on this little piece at the bottom of the pepper. And all I'm gonna do there is just gonna slice down, and now I can discard that entire thing. The top part, all you're gonna do is just pop off the top, and then now your pepper is essentially ready to cut. Now, a couple different ways you can cut your pepper, right? You can do what's called julienne. So you can make really small, thin pieces. So you're seeing, again, my fingers are curled under so I can have control of what I'm cutting. And I'm gonna cut long strips. So I'm cutting down and then pushing through. Cutting down and pushing through. And as I'm doing that, I'm moving my knife along. I'm slowly moving my fingers back, all right? So this is what you would call julienne. It almost looks like little sticks. Or if you remember back in the day, the little potato sticks that were in the bag, those who are from the 80s and 90s know what I'm talking about. Okay, julienne. Another way you could do it is, I'll just cut down the pepper twice. Okay, and you could do more thick, rustic type pieces. So there's some kind of big squares. If you want them to be really fine, right? Cut them in that julienne style again. Really nice and close, right? Line them all up, and then you're gonna come back through and cut through again. Remember, you can hold, obviously how I hold my knife is I have my finger down at the bottom, I wrap my other 4 fingers around, and then I put this finger on the knife. So there's a couple different ways you can hold it. Some people will hold farther back, right? As long as you have control, that's the most important part. Now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make small, swift cuts. And then you can see now I have almost these little bite-sized pieces, right? So we got the small bite-sized pieces, we got the larger chunks, and then you can see we have the julienne pieces. Now, which size pepper do I use in which dishes? Right? It kind of depends on you, right? If you have a dish, if you have a dish that's like, let's take for example, a chili, right? And you want some nice thick pieces in there, a nice chunky, rustic, earthy chili, then you can make them thicker, right? If you have a scrambled egg where you don't really want to taste or have these huge, outlying chunks, you can cut them really fine, crisp them up really good, saute them really good, and sometimes this is a really easy way to stick vegetables in dishes because it's so small and it cooks down so much. And it's soft, you may not even know that's in there. All right? If I'm julienning, maybe I'm making some type of fajitas and I cut the onions up the same exact way. And if you ever had fajitas before, typically the strips of pepper and the strips of onions are very long, and they go together better with that dish, right? Because if you're making a taco, if you're doing a quesadilla, if you're making a burrito, a lot of times they'll typically keep the pepper very long as well. And again, notice the really deep, rich red color that you're getting from the vegetable. You want to try to include as many different vegetables as possible because of the different types of vitamins and minerals or micronutrients that they will provide you. So at breakfast, lunch, dinner, even your snacks, try to include as many colors in your day as possible so we can make sure we're getting the amount of nutrients that you specifically need throughout the day. Hope this helped. I'll be doing other ones like potatoes, onions. Again, just giving you these quick tips so you guys know how to cut your own vegetables. So that way, if we're putting together these different dishes, breakfast, lunch, dinner, protein dishes, whatever they may be, you'll at least have a basic skill level to know how to do that. If you want to watch my podcast, if you want to watch more videos on how to cook, if you want to watch longer forms of sports nutrition tips, or if you're someone who feels like they need some nutrition services, hit up my Instagram link in my bio. My Linktree link has all that information for you guys, and you can look at any of that stuff if you're interested. As always, email me or hit me up in my DMs if you have any questions, concerns, or need anything. Appreciate y'all.